4, 3, 2, 1.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point you realize you married into crazy. And that's what our show is all about. If your marriage or relationship is compassionate, real, accountable, zealous and yielding, or just plain crazy, Snooks and Lovey offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as they unpack this thing called marriage. Sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy E.T. Look, if you're looking to or you got to raise the bar on your marriage, you gotta click the link and get into Married into Crazy, y'all. I'm telling you, this coaching is gonna take your relationship to another level. Now look, you already know you need to raise the bar. You know that already. So stop thinking or overthinking. Click that link, and Marriage into Crazy is gonna take you and your spouse to marital bliss. Now you know. Click the button. Let's go.
Welcome back to another episode of the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey. I'm Lovey.
I'm Snooks.
And it's been a long time.
It's been a minute.
That it has. And we want to thank everyone that has rocked with us from the beginning, but also those of you that have voluntarily gone on this journey with us as we dealt with the grief of losing our son. Our last podcast was back in
June. Yeah.
This coaching is going to take your relationship to
once we returned from Turks and Caicos, which was the last one, upon arriving back home, our son was murdered. 28 years old, and it was one of those things that just, you can only imagine, it rocked us to our core and stopped everything in its tracks. And so we've just now gotten to a point where we feel that we're able to jump back in when it comes to the podcast. And it's also expanded the horizons, I think, or the boundaries of what we'd like to focus on with couples and lead people through. It'll be much of the same as what we've always done, but it'll also include more.
That's fair.
And so if you're new to the podcast, that's nothing new. Snooks will chime in monosyllabic expressions from here and there.
Sorry, excuse me.
So it's pretty much the Lovey show because I'm Lovey.
Wow, really?
And your name is?
Snooks.
Yeah. So, no, and it's funny. Like, she says I don't let her talk enough. And then when I
haven't said that in a long time. So
because we haven't done a podcast in a long time.
No, I haven't said that in like a year.
No, but it's time. It's time. We've just celebrated our son's 29th birthday, though he is forever 28. And today, as a matter of fact, we met with the detectives that have been investigating his homicide. It's one of the few unsolved crimes that is still on the pages or the docket, whatever you want to call it, for Sacramento County.
Mm-hmm.
And so we met with them when we walked down together and saw the location where our son passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was an interesting experience, but there's no closure. But what it does do is add to the complexities of what parents go through when they deal with these types of things. Before I go any further, I just want to remind everybody that now that we're back, please do us a huge favor. Go over to wherever you're listening to the podcast, and if you've stumbled across us, go ahead and hit subscribe. If you have the ability to leave a review, go back, listen to some of the previous ones, and leave us a review. You know, we're always hoping for those 5 stars, but we ask that you do that, and be sure to visit us over at marriedintocrazy.com, where you can see the whole host of things that we do to support marriages.
Get some gear.
Yep, there's gear, that we wear and so forth. There's a lot there.
There's pillows.
There's coaching.
Ooh.
There's a variety of things that we do. But realistically, for if nothing else, subscribe and let's expand the conversation. But I was going to say, what the complexities that have increased dramatically have been, we want to help couples through adversity. That's what we've always talked about doing because we thought we had been through adversity.
Well, I mean, I feel like we have been through adversity, but this is just a new level of what we're going through, what we went through, what we're still going through. So it, like you said, is it's never ending, and it it's all over the place. We talk about grief. Grief is not linear. Grief is everywhere, because at any given moment, I'm okay, and then the next moment, I'm triggered by something, and I'm either sad or I'm mad. And then there are memories where, you know, I'm happy and I laugh or something, and then I go back through the whole cycle again. It might be days where I'm feeling okay. And well, so I'll say there it might be days where I'm feeling okay, but I'm not really feeling okay, because then I'm feeling guilty, like, why am I not sad? Why am I not sad right now? Why am I not mad right now? Um so I just go all over. And one thing that we've talked before about giving grace. Give yourself grace, give your partner grace. And in moments like this, in situations like this, you really do have to give yourself grace. Because no matter, I feel like in my own experience, it's like, I feel like we did the right stuff. We said the right things. We provided a safe, structured environment, household or whatever. And he's still not here. So I have to remember in those moments, that's where I'm like, okay, give yourself some grace, because he's not here, but he's not here not because you were a bad mom, or because you didn't, do the necessary things. He's not here, so.
And it's tough. And just because you come across that thought process once doesn't mean it's stuck. It means that you're going to have to revisit that mindset and be very intentional about revisiting that particular mindset that Snooks was just talking about, because it creeps up on you. We were down there at the scene of our son's murder with the detectives today. And as we were walking back to our cars, I was just shaking my head, and I was thinking it, and then I just said it aloud. It's not supposed to be like this. And I said, he didn't have to be here. He didn't have to live here. He didn't have to go through these circumstances. He didn't have to. And the detective chimed in, and he was like, it's not your fault. And he had said that it's, no matter what we do and what we provide, there's so much out there when it comes to mental health, when it comes to drug addiction, when it comes to these things. And he even went so far as to say that, and I'm thankful that he shared this, that, he said even within his own family, it doesn't matter if you're a detective or if you're a politician or if you're the president of the United States or, a homemaker, garbage man, doesn't matter where you come from. There's a pervasive, I don't want to call it illness or sickness, but there's challenges that are out there that are overwhelming to some and not to others. And just because you provide a structure and a home and an algorithm, if you will, for growing your house, your children. We have 3 kids. Every single one of them is very different from the other. Mm-hmm. And they're all affected differently by the exact same stimuli, the exact same thing, elicits a different response from each of them. They all deal with it in their own way. And in him saying that, excuse me, I'm sorry, we're still getting over these colds.
I'm like, keep your germs over there, bro. I just was able to go outside today. What are you doing?
Apologize. But even in him saying that, I had to remind myself, give yourself grace. So
yeah, it's very hard when when you lose someone, every moment, again, my experience, and then some of the people that I have talked to too, you replay all the moments in your head of the things that have happened. Like, ooh, maybe if I would have did this different, it would have been a different outcome. Maybe if I didn't respond the way that I did, he wouldn't have felt like, oh, I don't want to live here. Maybe if did I not provide enough compassion? Were we too real? What was our accountability? How were we with our children as growing up? Did we offer that safe space for him to be able to say what he felt like he needed to say? Keep it real. We grew up in a time where you do what I say, and that's it.
Yeah, children are meant to be heard and not seen.
I'm very thankful for my mom though, because I remember, I think I've shared this before. One thing about my mother is when my brother and we would get in trouble, and she would be going off on us or whatever was happening. My mother did allow us, when she felt like it, to respond. It's like the cross-examination. But we couldn't just blurt out, well, blah, 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 whatever. We had to raise our hand and be like, Mama, can I say something? And most times she said yes. And she allowed us to explain why we did the thing that we did, or why our actions were whatever they were. And there are times when she's like, no, I don't want to hear it, but it taught me to be able to, number one, okay, I have to learn how to respect authority. I mean, without getting whooping, respect authority, but also it helped me to be able to formulate my words, my vocabulary when I'm talking to employers, or if I don't agree with something, not just, go sit down at my desk and be upset about it, and be like, okay, hold on, let me say blah blah blah, give the different perspective. So I appreciate that, and I think that we did allow that very respectfully, very respectfully. That's one thing I will say about him. He was probably the most respectful out of all the kids.
That's
he's
funny.
probably the most respectful, in a sense of keeping his mouth closed, or the way he, conversation was when we were talking.
He's the only one that got whippings.
He's not the only one. He's
got
not,
spankings, whatever you want to call them.
I mean, in hindsight, you look back, you'd be like, yeah, he was raised closer to the old school spectrum, I think, than that the girls were. And we laugh about it later, because there's 8 years between him and our youngest. So our youngest, who is very spoiled, she would say something or whatever, and he'd be sitting down at the table whenever he'd come over, and he'd sit down at the table and he'd just pause, and he'll look around, and we continue to move on, and he's like, all I know is if I would have said that, I would have got in trouble, or and he would get mad at, why are you doing that? How come you don't blah 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 whatever? And she'd be like, you don't even live here. You need to go. So it was different. You made me forget what I was getting ready to say.
Me? I didn't.
Yeah, because I looked at you. So.
Oh, because I have that skill to make you forget.
Dios.
It's funny though, but as you were able to witness right now, that we went from a moment of melancholy, sadness, if you will, just because of the circumstances of the day and what we did earlier, to just laughing over a memory of him sitting at the table and engaging with the family and with his youngest sister. And, it was pretty dramatic. He'd sit there and be like, what?
Yeah.
Is nobody going to say anything back to her?
He would literally come over just to give her the blues, I think.
Oh, he would come over, and the first thing he wanted to do was wet his finger and stick it in her
What's
ear.
it called, a wet willy or something? So disgusting. And she would be so mad. Mom, Kaylin put his finger in my ear, and I'm
chasing
like,
her all over the house.
Kaylin, stop doing that, please.
But those of you that are going through things, give yourself grace. It's easier said than done. And we have friends that are going through the exact same thing that we are now. Unfortunately, right before we went to Turks and Caicos, I had a friend of mine that's in a men's accountability group, lost his son in the San Francisco Bay Area. And, I was supporting him and his family literally like 2-3 days before we actually flew out. And then we come home 3 days later, our son is lost. And then about 2 months later, I have a friend in Michigan. She loses her son. And every single one of the, well, I won't say because I don't know the full circumstances of the one in Michigan. The guy in the Bay Area and myself, us, we lost our child due to gun violence. And both cases are unsolved, by the way. It's interesting in that respect, but you're going to go through these moments, and as people are going through these things, you have to try and figure out, how do I get through this? And I got to tell you, you can't do it by yourself. You absolutely cannot do it by yourself.
So with that being said, though, you cannot do it by yourself, but at the same time, you cannot manage your partner's grief.
Why is she bringing that up?
No, I'm just being real, and not in a bad way. Like Lovey, he's the house manager. God, that's just the title that we kind of gave him. And he makes sure, house managers go through making sure everything's, everybody all right, everybody good, okay, good. So we keep moving. And if the manager sees that you're not doing your work or your assignment, they're gonna manage, or they're gonna, okay, what's going on, blah blah blah, whatever. So that's kind of how Lovey operates. So I had to tell him, I'm gonna need you to not manage my grief for me. But being who he is and knowing who I am, his concern was that I would slip into, a depressive state. I have been prone to depression, and something like this could obviously send you, overboard, tailspin. And so I think in a way that was what he was trying to negate. But as he was trying to negate it, he was getting on my nerve. So I had to just be like, hey, I'm gonna need you to don't manage my grief for me, because that could become contentious if we let it be. You already think of things differently a lot of times in your relationship. I see something one way, you see something a different way, and we approach how to handle it very different. So it's the same thing when you're dealing with grief or something along this line. Well, she not doing what they said she should do, or he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's not following through, or she's not following through. Did you make the appointment? Did you blah 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 blah? And it could get to you be like, oh my God, if you don't shut up and leave me alone, because now I'm about to start having some attitude. It didn't get that far with us, but I can see how it could get like that. We have known people in the past, and one person would share like, just overbreathe. Just I need space to breathe. Just give me room. Give me space. And that person felt like, well, if I give you that space, then you're just gonna stay right where you are and you'll never move. So we have to be mindful of those type of things. I knew how far to let myself go. I felt like I did. I was very comfortable.
But don't you think many people think they know how far to let themselves go, and then they find that they've gone so far that they can't dig themselves out?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I was kind of going there. I felt like I knew how far I would go, but I know like I said before, I'm prone to just go into my into my sad spot, you know. And in dealing with this, it was like, it wasn't even my sad spot. I was just like, I'm in total denial about everything. Even going through whatever, I would wake up every morning and I'm just, for that split second, my life is okay. And then I'm like, oh, shoot, my son is gone, And so my blanket that I tend to carry, when I say my blanket, my that depressive state, that will always be kind of following me along. But now the blanket, I got the big extra heavy blanket that was with me. And that mixed with denial, that was just kind of like, I was all over the place. I'm still all over the place on most days. But in the beginning, it was like, everything was stupid to me. I'm like, this is so stupid. I can't even believe that this is this is our life now. What are you? This is dumb. This is so stupid. And my mind could not wrap around the fact that this is our life. This is where we are, I'm like, this happens to people on TV. This don't happen to us,
And it's interesting because that friend of mine, Bridget, that's in Michigan, and she's mourning the loss of her son. And she made a comment the other day on social media about the only thing she can liken this to, her daily journey, is 50 First Dates, that movie with Adam Sandler, where every day she wakes up, there's like, thank you, Lord, for another day. And then it hits you like, wait, was that a dream? Did I lose my son? Is my son gone? And it's like every day you're realizing, and you have to start all over again. It's like you're reliving the realization, the shock of the situation over and over and over again with every sunrise. Now, we do know that with every sunrise comes hope. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. It's really hard to see a hope through tears, through anguish, through anxiety. Mm-hmm. And then every day you're kind of like, it is here. I got to do this again. How am I going to get through this day? And that's what it really comes down to, is getting through it every single day. It's hard to make plans and set goals. Everyone's like, more in 24, we're going to set goals. And it's like, I'm doing everything I can possibly do to get through today and this week. I'll make plans, but I'm just trying to be present right now.
Yeah, I just feel like, it's crazy. We talked about vacation. Excuse me. So before we left Turks and Caicos, we already had our next vacation planned, and I was like, well, so this time, Kaylin is going to come, and then the girls would be there, our granddaughters, Zay is just going to be a big old family thing. And we're just thinking about, that'd be cool. We go over to Hawaii and blah, blah, blah. And just all these, then when you realize that all those dreams that you had for family connection or us being together, and, how they're not there no more. I think about Easter of last year when he was here, and you guys are sitting on the stairs, and I took the picture. So it's hard to get Lovey to be still for a picture. You'll see pictures of me and the kids. We just like taking pictures all the time. Lovey, no, not so much. So I'm like, no, you finna take this picture. You gonna sit down. You gonna take a couple pictures. And then I think about it, and I was like, wow, that was the last time that he's gonna take a picture with them. And I beat myself up because I was like, that could have been our last family picture. But I'm not in the picture.
Because you're the one taking
because I'm the one taking the picture, And so every time I see that picture of the four of you guys just, smiling or whatever, the girls and him, and I'm just like, how come I think everybody was outside. It was like, how come I didn't have somebody come and take this picture? Because now our last family picture is in 2019 when we were in the backyard. Um, I'm looking at the picture right now and the girls aren't in it, but our granddaughters aren't in it, but everybody just sitting there smiling and everything, and I was super happy. But now I look at that and I was like, I feel like it was a missed opportunity because
Right.
it's not a family picture. So everything now I see, I won't say everything, but a lot of things I see, I was like, oh, we should have did this. Oh man, we should have did that. Not knowing that was going to be it.
So, one piece of advice I give to anybody that has a family: get in the pictures. Make sure every time you guys come together, no matter how mad everybody is, what your schedules are like, what have you, wrangle everyone and get everybody in the picture. The last time our house was whole was Easter of 2022. And we have I don't even know what to call it. It's not a fractured picture, but we have a less than full memory captured.
You mean in the picture?
In the picture.
Yeah, I took a lot of pictures too. I made, you better not move, Lovey. I made him sit there and take pictures.
Because I'm not a be in the picture guy. But anyway, that's something that needs to, and we're sharing all this with you because we want you to understand that when we do come together you'll see us doing speaking engagements. You'll see us doing podcasts. You'll see a variety of things. And people give, one of the biggest knocks, and we've said it as well, that when you see people on social media, that people only show you the good times, right? The snapshots, those moments. And you're like, oh, you don't show your real life. I'll be honest with you. I would never want to show you the pain that we carry right now. But I do want you to know that there is, on the other side of everything you see us in, there is a part of us that is in agony. And yet we continue. We move with, not moving on. We try and move on from the anger, the anxiety, those things, even though they're still showing their heads, and they will continue to. But we move with our son. And if you're going through things, the loss of a child, the loss of, it could be a loss of a parent. Though I will tell you that I've lost my parents, my grandparents, and now our oldest son, and there's a distinct difference. But I will say that, not to lessen that, because when I lost my father, lost my mother, I was there when my grandfather passed. My grandmother, those hurt. And to each individual that has these hurts, you have to find a way to move not on from those individuals, but move with, in some way, shape, or form, to have them in your heart, have them in your spirit, have them in your DNA, to have them in your spirit, and to carry them with you as you continue to move forward in life.
And don't feel guilty either. What is that called? Survivor's remorse or something like that. Don't feel guilty because you are moving. I think about Kalen, and honestly, I don't think that he would want us to be sad. He not for a long time anyway. I think that he would want us to laugh. There's a video, Lovey. I wouldn't watch it for a long time. And he says, smile.
Be positive.
Be positive, And it was funny because he had this little he had this little giggle laugh or whatever, but I'll watch that and it will make me smile because I'm happy to see that he's happy. He had a video when he was in the car that Kenji, remember the one that Kenji
Mhm.
said? And I
Hard
would just
way.
play, yeah, oh my God. And there's a part where he said, I always took the hard way. Sometimes it gives me heartache, you know. And I'm just, he said, I pray that God take the pain away. And I'm just like, why'd you always take the hard way? Why did you not listen? Why did, you know, I remember there's all these things in my head I'll think about. How come you didn't do this? Why didn't you blah 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 whatever? But at the end of the day, it's like it didn't matter why he didn't. I don't know that it would have been any different. Um the outcome would have been any different. I don't know if you remember that movie with the God, what was his name? Guy Pearce. He had a fiance and his fiance died. And it was just like old time movie or whatever. He's like, oh, I built this time machine. He's like, you know what? He mourned her for a very long time, and then he built the time machine. He's like, I could go back in time, and so instead of crossing the street this way, when they started to go that way, he's like, oh no, we're gonna go this way, and so they went a different route, and in that route, she still died, and so then he went back again, and then they did something else, but it always ended up the same, that she passed away, you know? So it's almost like you have to accept that nothing you did could have changed. I'm talking to myself. Nothing that I did
Could have changed the outcome.
could have changed the outcome. I remember saying to Yvette, I was always say, it's like, why didn't he just come home? And, you know, because we said you can come home, blah, 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 whatever. And we're going to, these programs and stuff. And she brought it to my attention. She was like, okay. But just because he would have, even if he would have came home, that doesn't mean that he wouldn't have went back out. That doesn't mean that he would have, he said in the moment he was going to, you know, the program, he wanted to do it or what have you. But stop, in a sense, basically stop trying to fix what I can't fix, because just because I would have done something different doesn't mean that it would have been a different outcome, you know.
Yeah, it's true. It's like that movie we watched. What was it? The Flash.
Oh, when he
And no matter what, yeah. And I'm not going to give it away, but there was. It's not that great of a movie, by the way.
I enjoyed it.
It was enjoyable from the standpoint of, you know, it was mindless entertainment. But anyway,
You only say that because it's not Marvel, it's DC.
but that was emphasized as well, that no matter how many times you go back, you know, no matter what you do, you generally can't change the outcome of something that was meant to be.
So now that we're here in this spot, you know, this is where we are. So we better do something with it.
Yeah, we need to move with as we move forward. And a big part of that is going to be really focusing on all the wonderful aspects of marriage, all the wonderful things you can do in a relationship. And we'll continue to bring you subject matter experts, other couples. We want to bring a variety of individuals to really lift up the covenant of marriage, but also people to come and talk about all the different challenges that they've experienced and how they've overcome those adversities, and they've turned those adversities into opportunities for strength and growth. I think back to, you know, I recommend everybody go back and listen to an interview we did with Chris and Nitra Word. And I think it was called like A Word with the Words or something like that. I'm not super creative, so I don't remember what the title was, but it was with Nitra and Chris Word. And when we met them in Jamaica, we fell in love with, you know, just seeing them love on each other, but also their daughter, and she was just absolutely beautiful. Who, by the way, their newest edition just celebrated their first birthday.
I know.
Saw that.
I saw
And
that.
so we continued the conversation and interviewed them because we had learned that they had lost a child, which was unfathomable to us. And in interviewing them, Chris and Nitra talked about their journey and what they had to go through. And the power in some of these interviews, you don't know until you need it. Because as we were walking our journey in the very beginning, I just felt compelled to go back and listen to that interview. And I had no idea that something that we did for all of you would be so important
and impact you.
And impactful for where I was in life, where I am in life. And I have to say that it's not giving us props by any means, but what it is doing is speaking to the power of listening to other couples and understanding their, hearing what they went through. We're all different, but I think that there's nuggets. Chris said that there was a point where, Nitra was like, well, how come you're not doing research? How come you're not, when their daughter was sick and they had to do, they were looking up stuff, and she was just all in, and it created a point of tension because she was questioning, or managing his method of finding a solution, coping. Mm-hmm. And he was like, so they talked through how they had to overcome that. Snooks talked about managing grief and how I have to back off, and I had to back off and let my wife and my daughters deal with the loss of a son and a brother in their own way, rather than telling them what you need to do is get a counselor, and you need to go through and you get therapy, and you gotta do this, you can do that. I ain't gonna lie, I still do it a little bit.
He still does it a lot of it.
Because I believe in the power of therapy, but I'm
just talking about managing, period.
Well, I do that. But there's hopefully somebody out there is listening and hearing, and there's something that we're saying that's helping you. Because I know that when we spoke with Chris and Nitra, it helped me tremendously in the moment of time that I was in when I needed to hear their words. Go back through our archive of interviews, listen to the topics, read through the show notes, see what stands out to you. And if there's something that relates to you, please watch and share with other people that that may be going through things, and definitely keep coming back to the Married into Crazy podcast. Mm-hmm. We want you to keep coming back and growing with us, because our goal is to positively impact 1 million couples in some way, shape, or form. And I think the best way to do that is through this medium and reaching out and sharing. And the only way that's going to happen is if we continue to do what we do, get better, improve along the way, but then also ask you to subscribe and share with a friend and invite them to subscribe as well, to continue building out that network so we can touch, lift, celebrate, and help as many marriages as absolutely possible.
Yeah, I agree.
So with that, our first time back, I promise it won't always be this melancholy. But thank you. Thank you for being here with us. And so, again, share with others. And until the next time,
be blessed.
Be blessed.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey. Please like, subscribe to, and review the show wherever you access it, and tell a friend about us. Visit marriedintocrazy.com and see how Snooks and Lovey can bless your marriage directly.